In 1996, an article was published in the New York Times titled "Recycling is Garbage," wherein writer John Tierney attempts to expose the flaws of recycling.
Despite his persuasive writing, he exaggerates some of the common misconceptions about recycling and what he believes to be detrimental consequences.
Tierney clearly overlooks many of the important components of the recycling debate.
And a scientist will bring to light an accurate representation of recycling and the benefits it brings to society.
Lack of recycling is a major contributor to global warming. The burning of fossil fuels to create new products raises the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is one of the biggest benefactors to global warming. Each year, Americans throw away 250 million tons of garbage. That's enough to fill a football field that is 100 miles deep. If half of this were recycled, the resulting reduction of CO2 emissions would be equivalent to taking 33 million cars off the road. Humans have had the greatest destructive impact on the environment, but in recent years, many developments have been made to try and reverse our devastating effects. One of the biggest and most important movements being recycling, but this new habit is actually a thing of the past. The practice of recycling dates back as early as 400 BC. In hard times, things like jewelry and coins were melted and used for weapons and other necessary goods. During times of distress, new materials might have been scarce, making the recycling of waste necessary. Recycling was a common trend all the way up until the Industrial Revolution. As goods became easier and cheaper to produce, throwing used items away became much more prevalent. In the 1940s and 50s, landfilling became the most popular and cheapest way to dispose of trash. But as waste started covering more and more land, there was a greater public awareness and rising environmental consciousness. Nevertheless, in the 1970s, recycling became more popular and drop-off recycling centers were established. A big environmental movement had begun. To find out the public standpoint on recycling today, we decided to do a little research of our own.
Do you recycle?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
I do.
Yes. I try.
You try?
I try.
What types of materials do you normally recycle?
Paper, metal, glass, plastic, everything but styrofoam because I can't do that in Lansing.
Pretty much like my cereal boxes, cans, aluminum cans, and milk jugs, things like that.
Paper products.
Yep.
Tin.
Everything. Plastics, cardboard, paper, newspaper, everything.
Wow.
As much as possible, like, okay, cardboard, plastic, if I can, then like batteries and stuff like that, but it's difficult to do that sometimes.
However, not everyone agrees with recycling. In fact, some believe that there are negative consequences. In his article, Recycling is Garbage, John Tierney states that
recycling may be the most wasteful activity in modern America, a waste of time and money, a waste of human and natural resources.
this radical view is seen throughout his article, and it has taken root in American society, as can be seen in our wasteful habits.
Despite the many initiatives that have been taken to educate Americans and encourage recycling habits, today only 34% of recyclable materials actually get recycled. This number needs to drastically increase for the health and well-being of mankind and planet Earth.
One way this number could be increased is by offering incentives for recycling materials. Consumers purchase things every day, but what they don't know is that a lot of the products they buy contain material that could be recycled. Pop cans and bottles are very popular consumer products that have incentive to recycle in some states. California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Iowa, Maine, Massachusetts, New York, Oregon, and Vermont offer 5 cents to recycle bottles and cans, while Michigan offers 10 cents per recycled can.
What is this MI 10 cents?
That's Michigan. In Michigan, you get 10 cents.
10 cents?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you mean you get 5 cents here and 10 cents there?
With this 10-cent incentive, 90% of potential cans in Michigan are recycled. This is substantially greater than the 48% of cans that are recycled nationwide. The 11 states that currently have bottle deposit laws recycle more than all other U.S. states combined, with each of these states reducing overall waste by up to 47%. To find out if this 10-cent incentive in Michigan makes a difference, we decided to ask the opinion of some consumers.
Would you do it for less than 10 cents, 5 cents, or for free?
That actually motivates me because that actually puts gas in my car. Kind of like this facilitates this and this facilitates going back out, paying the car insurance and stuff like that.
It's nice later on when you have a lot of bottles to return.
I mean, it helps.
Actually, I couldn't say. I don't know.
What about you?
I would do it for free, but the 10 cent is an incentive.
That helps, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it motivates a lot of people.
Yeah, so that's how things really get cleaned up, is because of the fact that there's people out there that want that 10 cents.
Michigan's 10-cent refund and the 5-cent refund implemented by several other states provides motivation for consumers to recycle cans and bottles. In order to improve recycling trends in the states that do not have cash incentives for recycling, legislation that allows for such incentives should be encouraged by those states that currently lack such laws. Furthermore, the evidence that recycling is improved when the consumers are incentivized could be applied to a wider range of products that contain recyclable materials. Another factor that consumers find appealing is how convenient it is for them to recycle. For some better insight into this, we talked to Dave Smith at the MSU Recycling Center.
I think recycling comes down to whether it's convenient and easy for people, for the most part. I mean, if you put a trash can and a recycling can, I think a lot of people will go ahead and put their stuff in the recycling container. If recycling isn't convenient and isn't easy for people, that's when you start to lose people. There's a certain percentage of people that are going to recycle no matter what. There's a certain percentage, I think a fairly small percentage of people that just don't want anything to do with recycling, just whatever, they're just going to throw it away. There's a lot of people that are in between that if you make it fairly easy, you make it pretty convenient for them, they're going to do it. They're going to think, it's the right thing to do. It's easy for me to do. No big deal. This is what I'll do. So I think that's the key. Just make it convenient and easy.
We found what Dave said to be true as we interviewed people around the East Lansing community.
Is it convenient to recycle, or do you need to take it somewhere?
No, it's totally it got more convenient, I think, last year or the year before, because they started a single stream system.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have to separate anything. I just dump it all in one box.
Yeah, like I work in a library, so it's a ton of bins everywhere where you can recycle all your stuff, so it's pretty convenient.
And as a matter of fact, 100% of the people we talked to here said it was convenient for them to recycle because of the Michigan State Recycling Center and the vast amount of recycling bins placed all around the Michigan State campus. They also said that this level of convenience positively influenced their decisions to recycle in the first place. However, it is easy to see why people could be deterred from recycling if it is difficult for them to do so. Incentives and convenience are important factors when looking at why consumers recycle, but to better understand the significance of recycling, we need to take a look at the facts. The process of recycling is overall beneficial, but there are some important components to take into consideration. To find out more, we decided to talk to an expert on this topic.
On garbage day, we had 3 trucks come up and down our street, 3 big diesel trucks idling all day, coming up and down everybody's street. One picked up garbage, one picked up recyclable materials, and one picked up yard waste. And so I always wondered, if I really analyze that from a scientific point of view, does that really make sense? Does having a truck and using all that fuel and all the greenhouse gases to pick up yard waste, is that really a net environmental benefit?
Recycling also saves space in landfills. Although, as Tierney points out, there is no shortage of landfill space, according to some scientists, all of the garbage produced in the United States over the next 1,000 years would fit into a 44 square mile landfill that is 120 feet deep. Yet, this does not justify an unsustainable lifestyle. It does not decrease the use of non-renewable resources, and it certainly does not extend the date by which we will start running out of virgin materials.
Do you have any idea of how far into the future we'll begin to see the ramifications of our unsustainable lifestyles now?
We're seeing it right now. There's zero doubt that we're seeing it.
And do you know why you recycle specifically?
It's good for the earth. I would hope that it's making some difference. I know if everyone does it, it makes a difference.
No, I think every little bit helps.
Exactly.
Well, mine alone is insignificant, but I guess I just try to live my life the way I hope everyone else would, and I hope all together it would make a difference.
It's good for the environment. It's also it's handy to be able to reuse different materials.
What sort of impacts do you think you're having on the environment? Do you know?
Not exactly.
As human waste becomes more of an environmental issue, recycling becomes more of a necessity to help reduce our detrimental consequences. One of the greatest benefits of recycling is that it reduces the use of virgin materials. About 4% of the world's oil and gas supply is currently used in the production of plastic, and another 4% are required during the manufacturing process. Furthermore, producing plastic from recycled plastics as opposed to virgin material, it uses on average half the amount of energy, 1/20th the amount of water, and releases less than half the amount of CO2 into the atmosphere.
So paper, plastic, aluminum is highly recycled, so I don't recall the percentage that aluminum is recycled. And aluminum is another very good material to recycle because, again, I don't recall the statistics, but the cost to produce virgin aluminum and the energy cost, the monetary cost is fantastically higher than the recycling cost. So it makes a lot of sense all the way around. So that's kind of the, we call it the low-hanging fruit. It makes really sense to recycle materials. When we get to paper, it becomes very, very difficult for paper because the trade-off and the cost points, all that are very much lower than the really easy stuff like the aluminum. Glass is very, very low in terms of potential benefit in the ease of recycling.
Approximately 1 billion trees worth of paper are thrown away every year in the U.S. Each ton of recycled paper can save 17 trees, 380 gallons of oil, 3 cubic yards of landfill space, 4,000 kilowatts of energy, and 7,000 gallons of water. This represents a 64% energy savings, a 58% water savings, and 60 pounds less of air pollution. Using recycled cans saves 95% of the energy required to make the same amount of aluminum from bauxite, its virgin source. Recycling aluminum produces enough economic value to cover the cost of collection and processing, while also subsidizing other recycling costs. And even more importantly, there is no limit to the number of times aluminum can be recycled.
How do we analyze it? What tools do we need to figure out what really makes sense? Does it make sense to really recycle? Does it make sense to even put it in the landfill? I mean, it's very possible that we might have a more less environmental impact by landfilling something if you look at the different wastes that are produced from different options. And it's very, very complex to make that decision. I mean, the interesting thing about all of this is, can we have policies, can we have regulations in this country to encourage recycling, encourage the production of materials that can be recycled? If we don't, why don't we have it in this country? And how can we motivate people to voluntarily recycle, or should we have policies, should we have regulations that encourage people to recycle, but have recycling that makes sense? So that means some changes in lifestyle.
Now we understand the importance of recycling and reducing our impact on the environment. We found that contrary to John Tierney's article, recycling is in fact good for the economy and is certainly not wasteful, let alone the most wasteful activity in modern America. Steps must be taken to enhance recycling efforts and sustain our diminishing natural resources. But before recycling, it is important to consider other alternatives, such as reducing consumption in the first place and reusing materials when possible. Only afterwards should we recycle and give these materials new life, wasting as little of our precious earth as possible.